After the Tokyo Manji gang disbanded on the 8th of March 2006, the entire region exploded into an era known as the Warring States period. Throughout this period, an unprecedented amount of different gangs tried to take control, but none of these could ever truly get a firm hold on the power. Eventually though, the power struggle stopped, and three extremely powerful individuals put a stop to the conflict, and each subsequently claimed a part of Tokyo as his or her own territory. One of these three gangs that claimed a part of Tokyo came to be known as the strongest gang that works in the shadows, with the figurehead of this organization being the unrivaled boss of Brahman, Kawaragi Senju. So in today's video, I'm going to go over the unrivaled strength of Kawaragi Senju and her possible relation to one of the three unifiers of Japan, with a possible relation that the Brahman gang and Senju may be related to some metaphysical concepts and Hindu philosophy, which itself has a deeper set meaning throughout this entire arc. But just before we get into this video, if you are new around here and want to keep up to date with the latest Tokyo Revengers content and just like other anime content in general, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and also be sure to leave a like on the video, as it really helps out with the algorithm and pushes my stuff to a bunch of new amazing people. But anyway, enough of that, let's get into this video. So, as the current reigning leader of Brahman, Senju is responsible for the status and welfare of her gang, and as I said previously, Brahman and Senju came into power at an unknown point throughout the 2-year gap between March 2006 and March 2008. By the Rokuhara Tandai, the rival gang of both Brahman and Kanto wasn't formed until sometime throughout 2007. So I would assume that Brahman wasn't created until around at least a similar point towards probably the end of 2006 or maybe the start of like 2007. Meaning that even though the entire world itself in the story has escalated in violence, Senju has managed to hold down her entire gang, a gang which is considered to be the strongest. Senju has command of an incredibly crazy and stacked fighting force that has the allegiance of the former first generation Black Dragons captains, one of which is her older brother, and the other two are known as the strongest duo in all of the story so far, Wakasa and Benkei. Despite this mental and physical age difference of at least 10 years between Senju and her other subordinates, she still somehow remains at the top of the ranks. I think this alone goes to show just how mentally and physically superior she is to others, even though there is this massive age gap and a bunch of insanely strong fighters that we know can lose it at any moment and just start rampaging. She can still pull back the reins on them and control her gang just how she likes it. I think it's even more evident with the fact that Senju recently had almost lost control of all of her forces and was facing utter defeat at the hands of Tyranno. Yet single-handedly, she made the decision to show everyone her true strength and no longer hold herself back. And in an extremely reminiscent way, just like Mikey, she flew through the air, and before anyone could even react, Tyranno was lying at her feet, almost exactly how in an instant Mikey took down the giant Taiju. Usually Senju would fight from the shadows, having her brother orchestrate decoys for her so that she can hit the enemy with a bunch of sneak attacks. But that was only ever because she didn't want to show her brother her true potential, and purposely held herself back so that her brother wouldn't be able to manipulate and use her to his own advantages. This is why Senju has been given the moniker or nickname of the unrivaled or unmatched, just how like Mikey has been given the nickname of the invincible. Now, still sticking with the so-called Warring States period, well, the Tokyo Sengoku period or Warring States period is something that I think the author has actually taken from the real-life Japanese Warring States period within a certain period of time called the Sengoku period. So many damn periods. This was a time throughout Japanese history of near constant civil war, social upheaval and intrigue from 1467 to 1615. Obviously, the real period in history lasted much longer than in the manga, but I think the overall outcome is extremely similar to what is currently happening in the story. The real-life Sengoku period was named by Japanese historians after the similar but otherwise unrelated Warring States period of China, and modern Japan recognizes Nobunaga, Hideyoshi, and Ieyasu as the three great unifiers for the restoration of the central government in their country. Again, in Tokyo Revengers we haven't had this so-called restoration, but we have had a period of time that is called the Warring States period. And after this time came to an end in the manga, three extremely powerful people rose and took command, being given the moniker of the Three Deities, which is extremely similar to the so-called Three Unifiers of Japan. These three unifiers of Japan have varying personalities that I think match to each different deity extremely well. The first of these unifiers, Oda Nobunaga, was a Japanese daimyo and one of the leading figures during the Sengoku period. He is regarded as the first great unifier of Japan. His reputation in war gave him the nickname of Demon Daimyo or Demon King. Honestly, those are some real awesome nicknames, and I think he perfectly matches up against Mikey, who has become a bit of a demonic figure throughout this last arc here. The second of the three is Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Toyotomi rose from a peasant background as a retainer of the prominent lord Oda Nobunaga to become one of the most powerful men in Japan. Hideyoshi succeeded Nobunaga after the Honjoji incident in 1582 and continued Nobunaga's campaign to unite Japan that led to the closing of the Sengoku period. I feel like the second unifier here almost perfectly describes who Senju is, as Toyotomi was especially well known for his resourcefulness, and I think Senju has just shown how extremely resourceful she actually is, being able to gain the allegiance of the first generation Black Dragons, along with Draken and Takamichi, and all for the goal of following in Mikey's footsteps and becoming the #1 delinquent gang in all of Japan. Well, at least to put it simply enough, that's what she's trying to do. When it comes to South, I found it extremely hard to pin him to a certain unifier of Japan, and in all honesty, the last of the three unifiers more suits Takamichi than anybody else. The third unifier of Japan was Tokugawa Ieyasu. Tokugawa was well known especially for his perseverance, and I think we all know just how much Takamichi has persevered throughout the entire story so far. Which is why I found it extremely hard to gauge exactly where South would fall, as he kind of takes a little from each unifier, as he is extremely ruthless, and through this ruthlessness he was able to become resourceful enough and grow his gang by defeating previous vice captains of other gangs, which obviously shows his determination, or at least I think it does. When it comes to Brahman, I think there may be some influence from Hindu philosophy, as Brahman itself, the name of the gang in Japanese kanji, which is on the back of the uniform, means purity, Buddhist, and Sanskrit. Sanskrit is usually just used in religious texts in Asian regions of the world, but generally, Sanskrit is a compound word consisting of san, meaning good, well, together, or like perfected, and krita, meaning made, formed, or work. So it is implying that a work has been well prepared, pure and perfect, is polished and or sacred. Pretty much in my eyes it's stating that Brahman itself means perfected or possibly even polished and pure. A more direct translation of Brahman though, or like the word itself, comes through Hinduism, where it implies that it is the highest universal principle or the ultimate reality in all of the universe, which honestly sounds absolutely crazy and actually might give us some kind of like context to this mysterious fire that seems to glow off her while she fights in battle. Also, in like major Hindu philosophy schools, Brahman is the material, efficient, formal, and final cause of all that exists. It is a persuasive, infinite, external truth and bliss which does not change, yet is the cause of all changes. Brahman, as a metaphysical concept, refers to the single binding unity behind diversity and all that exists in the universe. So again, in my eyes, this is kind of stating that Brahman is pretty much the final or the cause of everything and could be the possible reason as to why everything is turning out so badly in each different timeline. Brahman is also, interestingly enough, a gender-neutral concept that implies greater impersonality than masculine or female conceptions of the deity. Brahman is referred to as the Supreme Self. Polyganda states it as the unchanging reality amidst and beyond the world, while Sinar states Brahman is a concept that cannot be exactly defined, which is something that has almost been an underlying concept throughout the entire story so far if you think about it. The fact that no matter what, nothing can be exactly denied. Takamichi may change the past in some way or another, but possibly always at the cost of someone else's misfortune. So pretty much equal exchange. But if you'd like to hear more about like Brahman and take a more in-depth look into the possible relation between Senju and how she could more or less relate to Senju Canon, the thousand-armed goddess of mercy, then be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. videos like these take a bunch of effort having to read up on certain ideologies and religions, and we all know that from past stories, authors often like to base their works off or around things like folktales and ancient historic stories, so there is always a possibility that something like this could actually definitely be the case. But if you have enjoyed the video and want to see more stuff just like this in the future, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and if you want to support me one step further than that, then be sure to check out my YouTube membership option for as little as only like $1 US a month, as I'm thinking about making a private Discord for members who do join that as well, only if you're interested though, so be sure to let me know down in the comment section below and I'll get onto that right away if you guys are. Anyways, I hope you all have a lovely day, morning, night, or even sleep, but for now it's been your professional degenerate Diavolo, and I'll see you all in a bit. Bye.